Hi Cuddles, what's up? Happy Valentine's Day. Wish I was home with you to enjoy it. Finally made it here after 16 hours on the airplane. It was about 72 degrees today and sunny, but it's really dusty. The ground is almost all sand, but it blows around a lot. I had to take out my Sharpie and write on my gas mask filter, write the date on it, because they're only good for so many days after you open a package. Tell Ben I haven't seen any camels yet. Julie might be interested in the toilet facilities. They're just like a regular bathroom, except they're inside a metal shipping container with a door on the end. I miss you a lot and can't wait to get back to you. I love you and we'll write again soon. Tim.
Hi, hon. It's okay if the message was short. At least I got one. I really like the picture that you sent of yourself. We printed it out at Aunt Janny's. I love you with every beat of my heart, and the kids and I miss you big time. Be safe and remember that you are my everything. Love, Cuddles.
It doesn't actually have a name. It's more like a base that just kind of sprung up out of the sand, and it's now the size of a small city. It's called Camp Arif John. We flew there, and we stayed in there for, I want to say 2 weeks, maybe 3.
When we entered Kuwait, we got there February 14th, and they showed us where the chow hall was and where the phones were. And then the following day, we went out to, they had a tent set up, and probably about 5 miles away from where the hangars were, motor pool set up at. We had a Connex and some tents set up, and that's what we worked out of.
It was a big staging area. That's where your equipment would come in, from the port. All the checks would be done to make sure it's functioning properly.
The stress that we had that month in Kuwait before we went into Iraq in preparation for everything, to include the gas, to include the combat, was very high. We were training on a daily basis. The entire base, in fact, that we were on, sporadically throughout the day would have gas alarms, and we would have a limited amount of time to get back to our unit, no matter where we were on this very large base. And we would have to keep our masks on for a while until everybody was accounted for. And at times you don't think a lot about what you're doing because you have done these things in the past as far as training is concerned. So in a sense it seems somewhat surreal, but as the time is approaching and the warnings are coming out more and more, and we know that it's getting closer and closer, the fear becomes really intense because you don't know what kind of gas he may use, or any other biological or chemical or even nuclear weapon. We had absolutely no idea.
We were as far forward as their division artillery. I mean, we weren't right on top of the infantrymen because our vehicles, they'd just be in their way. But we were really far forward. I mean, we had a briefing right before the war started from a colonel, and he said, you guys, you got to be ready. He said, you're going to be, his phrase was, the tip of the spear. And he was right.
I remember, driving up near the border, and we were in these long columns, our unit was. We were just kind of all, hanging out one night, and I heard, looked up, and here's these Scud missiles or something going over. Like, I remember I looked at one of my friends, Richard Christ, and I look at him and I go, well, I guess we're veterans now. And so the next morning, we entered into Iraq.
My fellow citizens, at this hour, American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
It was like nothing I've ever seen before or probably I ever see again. It looked like rush hour in downtown Chicago. Tanks, armored vehicles and trucks as far as the eye could see over the horizon. I mean, it literally was a traffic jam. When President Bush gave the word to move out, everybody was racing for the border, and it was crazy. It was organized chaos. That's what it was.
We led the convoy. We were usually the first vehicle leading the entire company, so that meant we needed to know where we were going. So between me and Captain Hagedorn, reading maps, using our GPSs. At first it was blackout. We used our night vision goggles to see, which was pretty tough because when you're in the sand, I mean, there's so much sand from the trucks in front of you, you can't see. You just can't see anything. So it's pretty dangerous, extremely dangerous.
You're just basically trying to follow the vehicle in front of you. Of course, you got all the dust coming in front of you, and you're just like, man, I hope I don't hit the guy in front of me. Man, I hope I hit the guy in front of me. And so you're trying to judge how fast he's going, and sometimes you'll get a crosswind, they'll clear the dust out, and you're either like real far behind him or you're within 2 inches of him, so you got to adjust yourself.
We were going cross country, and a lot of our trucks got hung up in the sand because they're just too heavy to be off-road like that. So we lost some of our rear elements. They got stuck, and ended up getting left behind for a few days.
We only had one accident, and thank God nobody got hurt. It was just the passenger side of the truck hit the vehicle in front of it.
My position when we were driving north was the same as everybody else's in the convoy, to just continue driving north and pooling security on either side of the vehicle, whether you were the driver or whether you were the assistant driver, because our vehicles usually consisted of just the two people.
What you were supposed to do is to take your rifle, roll down the window, point your rifle out, and just scan the perimeter, constantly scanning the perimeter for anyone who may, try to do, the formation harm.
These trucks, you pull a trailer behind them when you're in combat anyway, so you're as heavy as any civilian rig you see on the road, and that's a lot of truck for an 18-year-old young person that doesn't have any experience at it.
Initially, when we went into Iraq, we were with 3rd Infantry Division of the Army, but because of a few things that had happened during the course of the next couple of days, we were shifted over to the 1st MEF and Marines. They did not have experienced bridgers, nor did they have the type of equipment that we had in order to do a bridging operation. So we knew that whenever a time would come, there was always a threat for taking out the bridges to slow us down. So we knew that if we were called upon, we were going to be thrown right to the front because we were with an infantry division to put them across.
The way I was told was they assumed that since there was such a long lead up to the invasion, they assumed that Saddam would have all the bridges rigged for demolition. So the second we stepped off to come into Iraq, he was going to drop all these bridges in the water, and that didn't end up happening.
Our military was operating so well that they were taking these bridges before the Iraqis had an opportunity to take those bridges out.
The Marines didn't really realize what kind of battle they had on their hands right there. It was a pretty, it was intense few days of fighting nonstop, and eventually it got to the point to where the Army was just rolling right along. They were meeting little resistance, and here we are stuck in southern Iraq, and we need to get up and meet together at Baghdad, kind of, at the same time. And they were looking for alternate routes to get around the city, and then it got to the point to where they felt it was secure enough. Let's just go through and keep rolling forward.